This is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and for people. And this is Tristan. He's a Corgi, and this is another episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And I have quite a busy day today. I have to see a client here this morning and then run up to a town near here to see a whole new horse client, run back here, throw a bunch of junk in my car, drive to New Jersey, and then teach a class tomorrow, and then drive back and see a couple horses on the way home. So it is chaos. Plus, as you know, I have been accepted to do a TED Talk on November 2nd, and that is a whirlwind of a lot of work. And I am just trying to get my schedule under control so that I am able to devote the amount of time to that it requires, because until I have that talk written the way that they require it, I can't do anything else because there's all kinds of people in line to help us perfect our speaking skills and hone our presence. But, you know, you still have to write that talk yourself. I'm very excited to be doing a TED Talk, and I would love to talk about how to connect with our animals, because I think that's really important. But it's becoming impressed upon me that, in fact, a how-to is not really a good TED Talk. It's more about ideas that inspire. That's what the basis of a TED Talk is. And so I will perhaps be talking about why it's important to connect with animals as opposed to how to do that. But this is really challenging for me because I don't think people understand. If I talk about why you should connect with animals for a long time, I don't think they'll know how to do it. And I feel really compelled that people learn this skill because I've seen so many animals suffering with people dragging them down the streets in ill-fitting harnesses, dogs that are senior, just, you know, with urinary issues, trying to stop for a quick whiz, and people thinking that they are marking or something and dragging them along. I just think it's so important that people understand how to connect with their animals, how to pay attention to their animals. So I've got to figure out how to include both of those things in a 15-minute talk and then learn it. Anyway, so today we are talking about some things you can do for your Corgi with DM, or your boxer, or whatever breed you have, German Shepherd, that may be stricken by this disease. I have had a few people write to me asking me to show them specifically what to do with the C128 tuning fork to try to help their Corgis. And I have to tell you, the earlier you can start using the tuning fork in the process of DM, the better it will be for your Corgi. Now, I have no empirical evidence that my dogs did better because of all the things I did for them when they had DM. And especially my first dog, that was before there was even a test for DM. But between what my sister, Dr. Judy Morgan, a holistic vet, did for him and what I did for him, and also there was some helpful stuff on Dr. Alan Schoen's website back in those days about supplements for dogs with DM and some work that he had done with them. And so I feel like I had a bit of a leg up from the start. And really, just watching Winston's gait back in the mid-90s, my sister and I knew from when he was about 4 or 5 that he would be struck by DM. And certainly with my dog Comet, again, age 3 or 4, it was very clear to us that he would likely have DM. And sure enough, he was a double positive for that. So, and Tristan, thank God, will never get it. Right, Bess? He says, no, I'm good. He is not the ideal standard for the Corgi breed, however, but he is still a wonderful dog, a great companion. He's really cute, and I will not have to go through the heartbreak of another dog with DM. And my friend Karen Tyndall is on Facebook with her dog Chi-Chi Charm, and she is doing a lot of things to promote DM awareness and to make people aware that this is a preventable disease. My dogs live to be nearly 16 years old in both cases with DM. Many Corgis I hear about are being taken by DM at age 13 or 14. And there's a lot of factors that feed into the quality of the dog's life prior to and during the DM situation. I think it's really important, as does Karen, to give your dog the best diet you can to ensure proper lubrication to the nervous system. And that would definitely be a raw diet. It can be dehydrated, it can be frozen, whatever works for you. but you can see plenty of things about diet on my sister's website, www.drjudymorgan.com. But diet can really be almost like medicine to reverse or control or minimize many, many, many diseases in our pets. What we have been feeding them traditionally, kibble, dehydrates them. Dehydration is significantly worse for the nervous system than for some of the other body parts. So this can really be a big problem in why our dogs get kidney and liver dysfunction that can take them. And then another thing, most corgis, the orange ones in particular, are what we call hot dogs in Chinese medicine. Because of their orange color and their nature, they are generally more heated than cool. And very important, if you have a hot dog like Tristan, to feed them cool foods, which includes turkey, duck, geese, not chicken, and cold water fish. Many, many, many commercial dog foods, even the no grain ones, are made with chicken. So if we are feeding a hot little orange corgi chicken, then we are feeding that fire and feeding the inflammation in the dog's body. And again, I have no empirical evidence, just the experience with my own dogs. But changing Winston's diet back in the 90s away from a chicken-based diet to one based on duck and geese did make a big improvement in him. So these are some things to think about. So this particular client, friend, onlooker, and a couple others had asked about some things to do for your dog with DM involving the tuning fork. So I'll show you that today, and certainly we will have many more episodes about DM. And certainly go to Karen Tyndall, Tindal, I think, and it's Karen, Caryn, and she has many, many posts on Facebook about dogs with DM, and I have shared many of them, and so has my sister, about keeping them mentally alert and still playing with them, accustoming them to their carts, and even, in fact, her most recent one is about adapting feeding for dogs with DM, because as the paralysis, which you perhaps need to know, DM is like ALS in humans. You get a gradual paralysis from the hind end to the front end until the organ system shut down. And one of the issues as the DM progresses and they can't use their front legs is that the swallow mechanism also begins to become affected. So very important to watch how you feed a dog at the end stages of DM. And so her most recent video shows just feeding them small amounts of food at a time and giving them a break so that they can swallow, and helping them, you know, a lot of dogs love their food, and especially if you switch to a raw diet, dogs really like that. So you may find your dog trying to wolf down his food in big gulps. That's not good when they have DM. They need to eat slowly. So you need to make the food less, more watery, less gloppy. So just dumping a can of food into the bowl is not going to be good enough. You're going to have to water it. And in fact, perhaps you won't be using canned food for a dog with DM. So there are many more things we will talk about with DM, but please check out Karen's videos and her Facebook page and the many posts I have on my pages, all of them about dogs with DM, if this is a concern for you. And I know there's so many corgis right now with DM, it's just heartbreaking. So the first thing you'll do to work with your dog yourself, these forks, this is the C128 tuning fork. It costs about $65, $75 from the Biosonics company. There is a link to their website on my website. My website is www.sallymorganpt.com, but you can also just Google Biosonics and get the C128 fork. This is called the Universal Healing Fork, and it's a pretty lightweight one of these weighted forks. It has these big balls on the ends that make the vibration last longer. And this is the one I've used the most with my dogs with DM. This is not to say that the other ones aren't useful, but this is the one I have preferred to use. So just to engage with the dog, we do the same thing that we did yesterday if you saw my video about working with a dog with seizures. I like to connect first with the heart chakra of the dog, the 8th chakra, which is really not just the heart chakra. It's about their connections to us and about their feeling safe in the world. There's a lot going on in that chakra. So again, we come at them not like this, but like this. So make that connection to that chakra and it's just in the area of the shoulder. Many of them have like this little extra fold in their fluff. So just go to that area, take those deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. slow, quiet, peaceful breaths. And as you do this, think about things that you love about your dog and things that you're grateful for about your dog, because this will put you in a state of heart coherence with your dog. And no matter what else you do, even if you never buy a tuning fork and just try some of these other things I'll show you today, that will still be beneficial to your dog by being in that heart coherence. As many of person who's been sick and in the hospital can tell you, the love and support of their family, friends, and loved ones is a big factor in their getting well. So that's what you're conveying to your dog while you have your hand resting here on that 8th chakra, conveying love and support and caring, and the sense that I have you, I will take care of you, I am with you in this. No matter what happens, I am always here for you. And all of us feel that way about our dogs. It's not very hard to do that. After you've done that for a few minutes, bring your hand back to the sacrum. Now, the sacrum is a really important part of this work for a dog with DM, particularly just affecting the hind legs or one hind limb at this point. Your hand conveys electrical current. It is the exact same amount of current required for bone healing, but it's also powerful for other things. So I believe that putting your hand over the sacrum is very helpful for a dog with DM, because you're energizing some of those nerve segments, and in the area of the sacrum and the low back, you are affecting the nerves that go to the hind legs and many of the elimination organs. So I like to put my hand there, and again, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to be a Reiki master or massage therapist. If you've studied cranial work, yay. But you don't even have to know that. Just put your hand there with love and attention and care and compassion for your dog, and take long, slow, deep breaths. You may even feel some warmth under your hand when you do this, particularly if your dog is already starting to drag one hind leg. You will feel that warmth on that side. Possibly. You might not. It doesn't matter what you feel. It's still conveying good information to those nerves and that sacral plexus in your dog to help revitalize that area. And really, I can't prove that this helps, but like I said, my dogs have lived to be 16 with DM, and they really didn't die from DM per se. I think they just were old. So who knows? If they didn't have DM, they might have been 18. Well, Tristan will be the test of that, and he's little, so I don't even know if he's in the same category as my 30-pound Comet. So take some deep breaths and connect with your dog and send love, compassion to him. It's also, some people like to send the idea of white light. I sometimes think of like flashes of light, like the nerves are conveying those little electrical impulses. Or you can just imagine warm sunlight passing through your hand into your dog's sacrum. But this is super helpful for most of the early stages of DM. And if your dog is a little more progressed and both hind legs are involved, I would do this here on the sacrum, and then also bring my hand up to their low back. On a Corgi, we have lots of low back. And again, do the same thing. Convey that idea of love and appreciation, and imagine light filling the cells and filling the nerves in this area. And again, you don't need to be specially trained to do this. And the power of intention has been demonstrated over and over to be really important. So even if you don't have any hard evidence that you can get your head around, this will help your dog. It will give him, the ability to use what he has to the best of his ability, and it will help take some of the pain out of his back from having to drag his hind end or sit a little cockeyed. So this is really important. Just put your hands over that area. And certainly if you can go back and review my earlier conversations with a Corgi about T-touches, you could do some abalone touches in this area, circle and a quarter. But the stillness of your hand is also important. So again, you can review the T-touches and certainly use them. But if you don't have the ability to do that, you're very busy or whatever's going on, just putting your hand on your dog can help. So after I do that, I like to run my hand down just to connect the hind legs, both of them, to the ground or to my lap or to the sofa, wherever they are. And thank you for standing this. So now we're going to begin to use the tuning fork. Geez, what do I have to hit it on? I guess a book. So we have the standing Corgi here. Oops, sorry, Bess, he's barking at him. To show you where we're going to use the tuning fork. We're going to start with it, placing it on the sacrum here. We're going to go down the hind leg to these major areas in the leg where the nerves pass by. So we're going to go to the hock, And then I like to do under the paw. Now, one of the things that happens with DM, and this is one way you can tell early on if your dog's having a problem, if you bend the paw backwards, I don't know if you guys can see this, if you bend the paw backwards, his doesn't because he's metal, but if you take the paw that's this way and bend it backwards and sit it down, it won't right itself. The dog will not have the neural function to correct that. So that's an early sign of DM. Well, maybe not so early. So what I like to do with tuning fork on the bottom of the paw, you know, the pad, is put the tuning fork down there, and there's tons of reflexology and acupuncture points in that area. So I would place the tuning fork several times all over the bottom of the paw to try to wake up those cells and nerves that are not activated when you do this with your dog, to help encourage him to get that righting response. The earlier on in the process you can do this, the more beneficial it will be. That's for darn sure. So again, we're going to start here with the fork this way, and then in the hock, and then sometimes I do the top of the paw, but definitely the bottom of the paw. You can do this with your dog standing up, laying down, or sitting, whatever position he's comfortable in. So I'll just show you this on Tristan. And you'll feel the fork vibrating for up to a minute or two. So I would just hold it there. Try to hold it lightly. If you grip it too strongly, the vibrations will be stopped by your hands. And you have to hold it down on the stem. You can't get your hand up on where the two bars come up, or you'll stop the vibration. And again, this idea with the tuning forks is that they are vibrating at a high frequency, 128 hertz for this one. And the nervous system of the body is generally at around 80 hertz. If you have DM, you're not getting to the 80 hertz. So the point is to introduce this higher frequency, and through the idea of resonance, to encourage the cells in the nervous system to vibrate at a higher frequency. And as I've said, it really has helped my dogs. I hope it helps yours. So I would place the tuning fork here for a couple of repetitions. The sacrum is really important, so if you can do a few extra ones there, that would be great, but I don't want to take all of your time with this. So we'll move on to Tristan's hock down here, and I can elevate him a little bit so you can see his hock. And there's a little hollow spot in the hock, which is a good place to put the fork, or a little bit anterior or towards his nose of that spot is also a good place. And even inside the hock, which would be right in this area, is also a good place to place the fork. And again, it's a little hard to hold it with the weight of the fork, but try to hold it as lightly as possible. It's often easier to do this with your dog laying down so that you can get a better mechanical position to hold the fork. And then, I don't know, Tristan, can I use your foot? Put his paw up here and put it on his paw. And again, if I were really doing this with my DM Corgi, I would put the fork on each of the 4 toes and hold it there until the vibrations cease, and do each of 4 strikes, 1 for each toe. And then the same on the bottom of the paw. Now it's going to be kind of ticklish. You may have to hold your dog a little steady while you're doing this on his paws. And some dogs, like my dog Comet, he did not like his toenails messed with, but he really was accepting of this. So I thought that was a good sign that it was being helpful to him. And again, the T-touches on the bottom of the pads, if you look that up in my conversations with the Corgi earlier episodes, that can also be super helpful. So if your dog can't tolerate the fork, start with the T-touches and then start using the fork on the bottom of the pads. Many of our show dogs or even just activity dogs people do a lot of things with, many of them are have their toenails trimmed with Dremels. And so the Dremel, the vibration of the Dremel will be something familiar to the dog, so that the tuning fork will feel fairly familiar to those dogs. And I really think this work on the bottom of the pad is really important, because the nerves, they're just like branches on a tree or roots on a tree, and they start out on the spine and come down to all the extremities. So if you can connect where that branch comes off the tree up by the sacrum, and then the end of the branch down by the paw, and just get some neural impulses going in there through the use of the tuning fork, I believe that's beneficial. And then I always finish by coming back to the sacrum. Tristan, he says it's kind of ticklish, Mom. And then when I'm done, I go again with my hand on the sacrum. Take those deep breaths, send light, love, appreciation to the cells under your hands. Run my hand back down that leg and then hold the paw. What I'm doing is putting my hand around the paw this way and really connecting it to the ground, which could be your lap, the sofa, the floor, this dog bed. But really hold that connection for a few minutes just to really emphasize that connection to the earth, because that is what the dog starts to lose when they have DM. They can no longer connect to the earth because their nerves aren't firing that far down. So those are some of the things that you can do with the tuning fork. Now, as your dog progresses and the disease starts to take more and more of his spine, you can do the tuning fork up on his shoulders, behind the knee, and again on the front and back of the paw. And many dogs, that are people are listening may have that situation going on. So it's the same as the hind leg: shoulder, behind the knee, top of the paw, bottom of the paw. And do that on all four legs. Even if he's completely paralyzed behind, it's still useful to use the tuning fork back there, I believe. So these are some of the tips I would have for you to help your dog if he's struggling with DM. And if you have a bigger dog than a Corgi, you could even use the fork here on the back, on the patella, up under the armpit here. There's another nerve plexus. With a Corgi, it's a little hard to get up in there, but if you have a bigger Corgi than mine, you might be able to do that. It's a little ticklish in there. It's his tummy. So I usually try to stick to the really bony parts of the leg. And again, if you don't have the fork, you can look up the T-touches and just do the same thing, holding your hand here and here, do some abalone touches, and use tiny little raccoon touches, which are just this with your hand, a circle and a quarter, in those same points on the inside of the back leg, up in the patella here, and down inside the hock, and on the top and bottom of the pads on the paw. Because a lot of people aren't going to go out and spend $75 on a tuning fork because, when you have a dog with DM, you have a lot of expenses. But you can use this for a lot of other things. You can use it on yourself if you sprain your ankle, or not immediately after you have a bruise, but a couple days later. It can be really useful to bring circulation to an area. So I consider it as part of my medical kit in my house for any kind of mishap that occurs. I use it pretty frequently. But of course, I do healing work, so of course I'm using mine on a daily basis. But still, if you're in a busy household and having yourself get a little bit injured frequently, then it's really helpful. So those are some of the tips I have for a dog with DM using the tuning fork. If you have any other questions, please write to me on this Facebook page, or you can email me at sallymorganpt@gmail.com, sallymorganpt@gmail.com, and I'm happy to help you if I can, or I will do another video to address those issues if a lot of people like this time have some questions. So good luck. I hope you can help your dogs. It's a horrible situation we have in the Corgi breed, that we have this horrible disease that afflicts our dogs. Some of the research they've been doing at the University of Missouri has actually been really helpful in the research for Lou Gehrig's disease, and they have in fact found some drugs very recently, super expensive, that they are trying to bring to market fairly quickly because they're so effective to help slow the progression. I believe the drugs are for, I can't exactly remember, but I posted something about it on the Corgi group. Anyway, or it was a Wheel Corgis group where I posted it. So it's so expensive. I don't know when that will be available for dogs or if, but certainly many Corgis have sacrificed their lives and their body parts to research for this disease, degenerative myelopathy, if you don't know, but we call it DM. So I am off to see my client, see a horse, jump in a car, drive to New Jersey, and teach a class tomorrow. So I will be back maybe tomorrow morning. I might do a little Facebook Live from the class, and we'll be unable to go to Monkey's house because of some health issues for the people there. So we are going to work at my sister's house with her 10 dogs. That will be really fun. I'm not sure she actually has 10 now. It might be 8, but with mine there, it'll be another one. And the people in the class may bring some dogs as well. So I will see you tomorrow, and Saturday I'll be driving back up here, so I don't know what my schedule will be like. And certainly on Sunday, I'd love to be able to continue our talks about emotion code that we started a week ago. Thanks for joining us today. Good luck with your dog with DM, and know that there are wonderful groups for Dogs on Wheels and Wheel Corgis on Yahoo and on Facebook to get support, because this disease is devastating to the person who has the dog as much as it is to the dog. You develop such a close relationship caring for your dog with such great amounts of time and empathy that it is devastating when they are gone, because it has consumed your life so much. So my heart goes out to anyone who's dealing with this terrible disease with their dog. Tristan and I both have been through it with Comet, and then me with Winston. So I'm just going to do a heart hug for anyone who has to manage this situation for an animal they love. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.